707 crash near Sale. A priest slated by the coroner over the death of baby M. And an exclusive interview with the world's most famous dancer, Nureyev. Good evening. An RAAF 707 has crashed into the sea off Woodside Beach near Sale with the loss of all 5 aircrew. The transport and cargo carrying jet was on a routine pilot training mission from Richmond Air Base in New South Wales. Sally Young is on the scene. The RAAF 707 aircraft, carrying 5 crew from the Richmond base in New South Wales, was on a routine training flight from the East Sale base, and shortly after midday the air traffic control tower at Sale received a mayday call. Then the plane disappeared from their radar screens. At the same time, eyewitnesses say the plane appeared to break up before nosediving into the water. Michael Roberts was walking his dog when he spotted the plane in trouble.
I saw this huge plane. It was huge. And had the windswept, backswept wings, you know, and it was just going straight down. Very close to shore, between 4.5 miles. It was so big. And it went straight into the water. I couldn't believe my eyes. I was sort of stunned.
Something caught my eye, glittering up above the smoke. And when I looked up, there was this big plane, big silvery grey plane. And it was definitely in trouble. It was spiralling down and was going to crash into the sea.
Search planes found the aircraft in 3 main pieces with wreckage strewn over a wide area. 2 inflated and 2 semi-inflated life rafts were located, and a large oil slick was seen drifting over the crash site, but there was no sign of any survivors.
I have their names if that's any help to you there. There's Flight Lieutenant Lewin, Flight Lieutenant Ellis, Flight Lieutenant Duncan, Warrant Officer Fawcett and Warrant Officer Gwynn. 3 of them were pilots and 1 load master and 1 flight engineer.
The RAAF says at the time of the crash, at least 3 crew members, 2 pilots and an engineer would have been on the flight deck of the plane. It's believed their bodies are still trapped inside the wreckage. The RAAF says it's possible the pilot may have tried to dump fuel before the plane went down.
There were 3 major structural portions visible in about 50-60 feet of water.
The 16-year-old aircraft was one of 6 707s based at Richmond and is believed to be the largest of its kind to crash in Australia. The accident comes just months after another RAAF training plane crashed at Sale, killing 2 people on board. Sally Young, 7 Nightly News.
Dead as a RAAF jet plunges into Bass Strait.
A rights alive priest slammed in the coroner's baby finding.
And a tiny community in fright in the wake of satanic allegations. Our investigation continues. Good evening. Also tonight,
a peace deal in the teachers' RAAF.
But first, the RAAF tragedy off Woodside Beach in Gippsland. 5 airmen are believed dead in the crash of an Air Force Boeing 707 into Bass Strait. The plane, one of the biggest in the service, slammed into the sea only 2 kilometres off the beach. Divers, helicopters and boats are now combing the area in a massive search operation.
The 707 was about 30 nautical miles from the Sale RAAF base when it disappeared off radar screens.
I heard a loud explosion, like backfiring of a plane up in the sky, and had a look up there and just saw something fall down over the top of the trees there. And the moment it went over the top of the trees, there's a very, very loud explosion.
The pilot sent a brief mayday message before the plane plummeted into Bass Strait, several kilometres from the Woodside surf beach. A plume of smoke spiralling from the crash site sparked the worst fears of authorities as all road and air access was sealed.
Half an hour later, then everything seemed to happen. You got the plane, and you got the, I think it's an Orion going around, and police came down. Oh, there's a buzz of excitement here.
A large search was quickly activated involving RAAF aircraft, police, military and private helicopters and numerous boats. But all that was left of the huge plane was a stream of wreckage several kilometres from shore.
Small orange life rafts were located during the search, but late this afternoon the plane's 5 crew were still unaccounted for. Firefighters were called to extinguish flames on nearby sand dunes. The fires thought started by the aircraft's dumped fuel load. It's thought the 33 Airlift Squadron craft, based at Richmond in New South Wales, was attempting a forced landing when it ditched into the sea. The RAAF says it's almost certain there are no survivors from today's incident, claimed to be Australia's largest ever jet disaster. It's already begun a full inquiry into the crash and has sent divers to the scene to try to recover the aircraft's black box flight recorder.
All of Australia's 707 fleet are part of the 33rd Squadron and based at Richmond in Sydney's west. When the news reached home base, Air Force personnel were as disbelieving as the rest of the country. Accidents like this never happen.
not only the members of 33 Squadron, but the members of the RAAF base Richmond and of the group are all devastated that this should happen. As I say, this is the first fatal accident that we've had within Airlift Group or the Transport Force since 1961. 30 years accident-free flying.
707s are primarily used as passenger and freight transporters. 4 are currently being converted to air-to-air refuelers. They're also often commissioned by the Prime Minister and visiting VIPs for official use, like his recent trip to Zimbabwe. Service personnel here at Richmond are in shock, some too shaken to comment publicly. All of the men involved in the crash are married. One had just recently become father to twins.
This is a very tragic accident. My sympathies go out to the next of kin, and that I speak not only on my own behalf, but on behalf of Mr. Hall.
Until the cause of the crash is determined, all 707 aircraft have been grounded.
It is a tremendous shock to the Air Force and to me personally, and at this stage I couldn't even begin to speculate on what might have occurred.
This is the 5th fatal crash of an Australian military aircraft this year. Today's accident brings the number of service personnel killed to 13. Sandra Sully, 10 Eyewitness News.